those sorts of investments, if they're good returns for the people who are playing into the KiwiSaver, they can already be done. We're not enabling anything that can't be done at present. We're simply giving the punter, if you like, a little more say in that, potentially.
Yeah, it's all about choice. And we wouldn't expect everyone to do this. We'd expect, we'd put some rules around it. You couldn't have too many of these different choices. You could only choose maybe 2, maybe 3 maximum. But secondly, you'd have minimum balances. But the reality is that as people get more sophisticated and hopefully focus more on KiwiSaver, you should have the ability to actually be able to direct where you want some of your funds to go. If you take the Australian situation, they've taken a step further. They've said that you can self-manage. We haven't quite got to that point, but this is just something that the industry called for, the capital markets industry called for, and we think it's a good idea.
So would it create more competition in Kiwi funds? So they might, if you like, sharpen their pencils a bit in terms of delivery to customers?
Well, there may be an element of that, and hopefully there are, because some KiwiSaver providers are very passive in terms of their investments. They just want to have a share of a fund.
Well, the whole idea of it, Andrew, to be honest, it was passive. You just had to make the contribution and you pay your management fees, and there it is.
Yeah, well, that part's passive, but in terms of investment strategy, one is a very passive investment strategy, which is you just buy the top 50 stocks and follow the market, right? Yeah. The other people, we've got some KiwiSaver providers being really active and investing in things like Sam Stubbs investing into housing. You've got Booster investing a whole lot of horticulture assets. You've got Milford who've set up their own M&A. Yeah.
But the point, Andrew, of KiwiSaver was not to make every New Zealander investor, was to encourage people to make provision for their own retirement, to reduce the burden on the state, not to turn us all into ticker-tape following stock market speculators.
Well, actually, what we are, you're right, we're trying to allow people to fund their retirement, and that's the whole purpose of it. Yeah. But the more we get people investing in different caliber and different types of stocks or investments and getting their return over time, that's better. And ultimately,
hang on. Why is it better, Andrew? If it was a set and forget policy... it just seems to me this is a secondary objective of KiwiSaver and certainly not its primary one. And the fact that the drive for this has come from the investment industry itself tells me also that it is probably, away from the original purpose of the scheme.
In terms of the management, there's no active management by the individual. But can I ask you, for instance, have you changed your provider?
No.
Well, some people have. I have.
Yeah.
And people change their KiwiSaver provider because they want to get something different. They may want a different exposure. They think their provider's not doing a good enough job. They think that the market's changing. And so for some people, why shouldn't we have the choice to be able to say, why can't we change it? And some people do, and often do.
Well, because at the end of the day, KiwiSaver is about a scheme that's prescribed. I mean, to be honest, I look at it now and think, geez, I could do with that money. Why can't I just take it out? Well, I can't because I'm not old enough, and that's what the deal was. But it just seems to me you're asking for a level of sophistication from the average Kiwi punter that many of them don't have and don't want to have and don't need to have.
Yeah, not everyone's going to take the point, but not everyone's going to take this and want to use this as a choice. But there'll be some people who do want to have a choice. And as the market matures, you think about the next 10 years as the market matures and we end up with 200, 300 billion in the market, we're going to say to people, you can have that choice. And that's the right of people to be able to have that choice.
All right. Well, I'd love to live in an economy where we didn't have to have KiwiSaver because people could make enough in their lifetime to save for their retirement without leaning on the government.
Well, unfortunately, it is your funds. It's your nest egg. Unfortunately, we don't have enough people interested in KiwiSaver and enough people putting enough money into it. That's a big issue.
All right. This has been roundly condemned by the Labour Party. Do you think there's any validity to any of their criticisms?
Not really.
Would people be able to, and you're going to love this segue, Andrew, would people be able to choose to invest in companies that had certain attitudes on things, certain moral attitudes on things, for example, on transgenderism?
Oh, I think highly unlikely, because it will depend on what fund managers want to do. Now,
do you have a position on transgenderism, Andrew? And we see Mr. Peters has introduced a policy about toilets and said that men shouldn't compete against women in sport. Do you have a view on that?
I think Christopher Luxon summed it up beautifully when I was standing beside him yesterday, which is, if we end up talking about that issue right now, that's the most important issue in New Zealand. When we've got a cost of living crisis, many people can't afford to put food on the table. That's the more significant.
Not asking you to talk about it at length. I'm just asking you for your position on it.
I think it's very important that we talk about the mainstream issues.
Okay, so there is a prohibition in the National Party talking about the transgender issue?
No, not at all.
Okay, so what's your opinion? If there's no prohibition, you must have an opinion on it.